Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner and Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NAC TV. I'm Eoin Devereux with the Banner and Press, welcoming you to this edition of the program and the paper. Joined this week by publisher, owner-operator Ken Waddell. Ken, good to have you here this week for this week's program.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I haven't done the program for a while. I was starting to get lonely for your rich voice.
The velvety voice of Westman Radio.
There you go.
Self-proclaimed, yes.
Yeah.
But let's get into the news. That's the reason we're all here. And we've got some very interesting news to be able to share with you on this week's edition. In terms of a story we covered late last year that everyone in Neepawa and surrounding communities, several surrounding communities throughout Western Manitoba, were very much talking about. And that is in regard to several mail thefts of post office boxes, not just here in Neepawa. It did happen here in Neepawa, but in other outlying communities as well. It was a crime spree that came out of nowhere. People were coming into the post offices, they were breaking into the P.O. boxes, and they were taking items from it. And it wasn't just, like I said, in Neepawa, was it, Ken? It was all over.
No, there was a number of communities, Rivers and Minnedosa and all over the place. There was quite a widespread network, I guess you'd call it.
Yep.
We ourselves at the Banner were victimized because one day going through our accounts and this bill isn't paid. And it was a substantial bill. I thought, wow, that customer always pays their bill, or they hadn't paid it for a couple of months. And so I phoned them up. Oh yeah, we paid that. And they phoned their bank. Yeah, the check had gone through. I said, well, it didn't go through to our account. What had happened is that they mailed it, and one of our friends here that's the handiwork is depicted on the front of the paper here, took a little pry bar to our mailbox and many dozens of others.
Yep. Popped
them open, because they're not the strongest boxes in the world. You don't think of people having the nerve to break into a mailbox. And our check, among many others, was taken out. They hustled over to the bank. Somehow they got into somebody's bank account. They deposited into not their bank account, somebody's bank account, and then withdrew cash through the night deposit or through the ATM machine.
Mm-hmm. It was just the brazenness behind this rash of thefts was just unbelievable. And as Ken said, it wasn't even just here. It was all over several communities throughout the region. And when you hear about something like that, and let's be honest, you probably heard something like that, and it's like, okay, that's the last we're going to hear about it. It is what it is. We're very happy to be able to say that we can share an update with you. Almost a year later, RCMP have released new information and have been able to confirm they've made 2 arrests in regards to this series of thefts. The individuals are 38-year-old Ryan Ekberg of Brandon, 41-year-old Jennifer McDonald of Boissevain. Both of them have been accused of 41 offenses, including multiple counts of breaking and entering, theft over $5,000, and possession of property obtained by crime. Now, none of these charges have been proven in a court of law just yet. They are just right now been arrested and are facing these accusations right now. But this is something very serious. I mean, there's certain things, you say what you will, Ken, about our justice system and the crime and punishment that comes around with it. But when it comes to something like this, they don't mess around when it comes to federal sort of jurisdictions like that, do they?
No, they took definite action there. And I just was re-scanning the story, and the communities involved were Neepawa, Minnedosa, Arden, Kelwood, McGregor, Carberry, Rapid City, Glenella, Erickson, Onanol, Sandy Lake, and Rivers. At least that's the ones that are on the list. There may have been more, but I think that would be the complete list at this point.
And if you're wondering as well about how they were able to do this, how they were able to get in and look after this, and nobody be none the wiser. Well, of course, around this time last year, late November, into the holidays, and into 2025, there were the rotating strikes from Canada Post. So there were times that there were not people in there. Fortunately, a year later, everything's looked after there, and we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
All that's been solved, right, Ken?
Yeah, you're an optimist. And we also revealed in the story back in the day when you were working on it before, Owen, that surprisingly, Canada Post doesn't have security cameras in their lobbies, at least not in the ones that were affected. And with the way how broke Canada Post is right now, and having all the struggles with labor and everything they're having, I don't think they're about to put security cameras into their post office, which I think it only makes sense that would be done, but it doesn't make them any money. And they're not worried about making money right now. They're worried about reducing their losses, which are reputed to be going to be over $1 billion this year, or $10 million a day. So Canada Post has got its own set of problems for sure.
You talk about that as well, about the lack of cameras there, and that's one of those things, I got to be honest, I didn't even realize. I just naturally through the years assumed that something of a federal nature such as this, there'd be security cameras there so that you could look after something like this if it were to occur. I hate to say it, but I assumed. You know what happens when you assume, so on and so forth. You know what I'm talking about. You can fill in the blanks. This is the PG show, people. I'm not going there. But it's interesting to sort of see how the RCMP over the year were able to come together, form this investigation, get the valuable and necessary evidence to decipher through who was responsible, how many people were responsible, and then finally single in on those individuals and be able to make the arrests. I would love to learn a little bit more of the details behind it, but because it is still an ongoing and open investigation, and these people still have to sort of face the judge, as it were, literally, they can't share all the details on it, but I'd be fascinated to see how that played out, Ken.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot more to the story. I know that we got our money from our customer. I haven't checked back with them whether they got their money back from the bank, because it was a bank fraud. Somehow the person who stole the check deposited the check to an account that they didn't own, but they had to have access to it, and they had to have access to some kind of code or password to pull out their cash.
Yep.
So, and I think they were smart enough not to take out more than they deposited, so that the bank at the end of the month wouldn't be unreasonably out of balance. And so I'm not sure of that, but I'm making an assumption there.
It's very interesting to sort of see the type of thought that had to come through. Because again, as we shared, these individuals aren't from here. They're from Brandon. They're from Boissevain. So to sort of come up with this plan and follow through with it in communities that they don't live in, they're not familiar with, that they live an extended distance from. Very interesting to sort of see how that came around. But I guess I'd love to find out once, once it goes in front of the judge and maybe in front of a jury. I'm not sure. I haven't committed enough crimes to know exactly, precisely how our judicial system goes when it comes to mail theft. So it'll be interesting to sort of see that play out.
Yeah, and there's something else we've discussed around the newsroom that I think is one of my staff, or maybe a couple, suggested there's probably other things that they're stealing. I was saying, what can you steal in a mailbox? Well, obviously checks, but my naive self said, well, what can you do with checks that aren't made out to you? Well, apparently you can deposit them to somebody else's account and then take the cash out.
Yep.
But I think there's another thing, a piece of mail, and that's credit card renewals.
Yep.
Or maybe credit card solicitations.
Yep.
From companies might be of some value in the hands of a person who is brazen enough to do some fabrication and forging and whatever. They might be able to get something going on that regard. So it's the mail service is not secure, unfortunately. It's not really the fault of the post office, because they got locked boxes. What else can you ask for?
Yep.
Well, cameras would be another thing. But the old Wild West stagecoach robberies, when they robbed the mail off the stagecoach, then it was cash.
Yep.
So, or gold.
Uh-huh.
At least according to the movies.
Oh, but we're very pleased to be able to share these new bits of information with you on a story that everyone was talking about in and around this time last year. So very pleased to see the RCMP were able to get their man and woman. So let's shift slightly over to the side of the front page because we got a little bit of a story to coincide with this one on our front, and it's about 3 locals that are part of the Westman Youth Choir. If you're a consistent and loyal reader of the newspaper, you know that the Westman Choir very well regarded throughout the region. Young people being able to sort of travel throughout the area and perform during the winter and into the new year. It's sort of this year's, we got, as I said, 3 Neepawa residents who are a part of it. This is a story, of course, by Casper Werehon. They were able to track down some of the information. This is a story as well we could have had in last week's edition. They sent us a press release, they sent us the media release with the basic information, and we could have run with it, and we were planning on running with it, but Casper saw this and thought, you know what, there's a little bit more to this. I would like to learn a little bit more about these individuals than just their names and when they're going to be performing. So they went out, they did the due diligence, and they tracked down the information and had a chance to speak with them. Those individuals, of course, were Siri Warrock, Charlene Carefoot, and Marina Vidrazzo. I apologize if I butchered the names there, but and Casper was able to share some information in regards to that, just the experience, what it's been like, what they're expecting from the performances coming up in the near future. And I was never into choir, and anyone who's ever heard me sing, Ken, is very appreciative that I never got into choir.
Well, give us a sample.
Oh, no.
Give us a sample now.
No, I'm not going to inflict that. Okay. We like ratings here on NAC TV. We like good ratings, and we don't want to inflict that horror on our loyal... If we were to inflict that on our loyal viewership, they wouldn't be so loyal the next time around. But it's wonderful to see some local people participate in something as well regarded as the youth choir, Ken.
I don't know if the article says when Manitoba or Westman Youth Choir started, but I can vouch for this, that 50 years ago, our sons were in the choir.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a few years that they've been going. I know they've had a lot of tremendous leaders, choir conductors over the years. The format has stayed the same pretty much. They do a camp for a couple of weekends at Clear Lake, and then they go out on the road, and they just get stronger and stronger as they go. They're billeted in homes in the various communities, and it's just a really, really good thing. I know that our sons thought it was pretty cool, and to this day, like just this past year, when we were in Verdun, my wife and I, and this lady introduced herself. We weren't familiar with her. I think she had going by a married name now. Oh, I'm so-and-so, and gave her maiden name, and says, I was in Westman Youth Choir with your sons, and that's 50 years ago.
That's kind of interesting. A little bit of heritage.
Oh, sorry, 40 years ago.
A little bit of heritage behind the whole experience.
I just aged my sons, sorry. 40 years ago. I apologize.
Yeah. If you're interested in seeing this year's version, and you're in Neepawa, hopefully you're not watching this after October 20th, because they're going to be in Neepawa at the United Anglican Church on the 20th of October. So if you're interested, go on down to the United Anglican Church on Monday the 20th, and you can see the choir. You can get a little more information about those details in the article Casper put together. You can find that on page 1 and page 2 of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. And hopefully you'll be able to experience it live. So, all right, let's shift a little deeper into the newspaper, into the heart and soul of the pages, as it were, and something else with a little bit of heart and a little bit of soul that means something to Neepawa. It's something we've talked about the last few weeks, the Beautiful Plains Museum and its long-term future. They have a distinct and desperate need for more people to step up, more volunteers, new board members. Otherwise, this part of Neepawa and the surrounding region's history will be history. It'll be closed down. It'll be torn apart. It'll be stripped for parts, as it were, because there's just not enough people to be able to keep it going. So there was a meeting recently that was held at the museum, open to the general public. Fortunately, in and about 36 people were able to attend, and learn a little bit about what it means to be able to give back to the museum, to volunteer a little bit of their time. And I want to emphasize the two very important words, well, maybe 1.5 words, little bit. It's not that time consuming an endeavor. And they made sure very much Helen Drysdale, who is the current board chair, who is stepping down, she very emphatically sort of stressed that this is as much or as little time in your day, in your week, in your year as you want it to be. If you want to give 1 hour to the museum to help them put up a fence or fix up a shelf, you can do that. That's one less hour somebody else has to give. If you wanted to give a half hour once a month to help with a tour, going through there, you can do that. It's as much or as little as you need to be to keep a very important piece of our history alive for those that weren't part of that history, but really genuinely need, in my opinion, Ken, to experience that history.
Yeah, there's a wealth of knowledge and information, historical documents and historical artifacts in the museum. And I see the pictures here of some of the young people who are looking at the displays there, and I think, if this thing disappears, how are they ever going to know these poignant aspects of our heritage? There's a really cool picture of a young man wearing a buffalo coat. There's all kinds of artifacts from the store. They have a little store in the museum, a set-up store. It's not for sale, but to show you what stores were like. And I look over those shelves and I say, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. But a lot of this stuff doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
It just doesn't exist. A lot of tin goods, little tin cases and stuff, and foil wrappings and all those kind of things. A lot of that it's all plastic now. And it's a beautiful, colorful display. There's no question about it. And kudos to Helen and her late husband, Alan. Alan was a staff member here at the Neepawa Banner for years, but he put in a huge amount of time, and she has put in a huge amount of time as well to keep the museum vibrant as it is.
If you want to find that story, you can find it on page 8 of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. And the pictures that Ken is referencing here, Casper Werhan went down there during one of the student tours, which recently took place, and took a whole bunch of pictures of the students experiencing it themselves. And this story I wrote a bit of a preview a couple weeks ago in the newspaper, and I have to admit it had been a few years since I had been in the museum myself. And to be in there again and to see it again with my own eyes and remember all the different avenues and aspects of Neepawa and Western Manitoba's history that are covered, it's not boring. There's something you're going to find that's going to interest you. I guarantee it. If it's sports related, if it's local business related, if it's frontier related, if it's war related, it's there and then some. It is incredible to see every single aspect that they cover, and to be in danger of losing that. Would be very unfortunate. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
No, go ahead.
When we bought the Neepawa Press building, which was built in 1932, and we're still in it and working out of it with the Neepawa Banner and Press, there was a large number, significant number of very large old cast iron pieces of equipment. And it was you should open a museum. And they were half serious. Well, the problem is, you can't make money from museum. And there is a whole museum, 2 places in Manitoba that has a lot of the old printing equipment. One, I believe, is at Pilot Mound, and the other one is at the Austin Thresham's Reunion Museum. But we did keep some neat stuff. And if you want to see the stuff here as well, we can show you stuff. We also have in our archives a copy of nearly every newspaper that's been published here in Neepawa since 1896. And there's hundreds, thousands and thousands of pages. It's important to keep the heritage, that's all I'm saying. Some of the heritage we couldn't afford to keep because just didn't have the space or the use for the equipment.
Mm-hmm. Well, once again, you can learn a little bit more about the Beautiful Plains Museum. They're going to be having their annual general meeting that's going to be occurring at the museum on November 4th. That's going to be the make or break. That's going to be the decisions are made at that. If nobody shows up and nobody steps up to be a board member, I mean, we can all talk about, oh, we believe that the museum has value. Oh, we believe this. Oh, we love that about the museum. But if nobody steps up and is willing to say, yes, I will be a board member, or yes, I will volunteer, then it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And don't be fearful about it. Sometimes people get a little in their head about, oh, if I'm a board member, I got to spend all this time and all these hours and all this and all that. It's as much or as little as you want it to be. That's the thing I very much want to emphasize. If it's an hour, if you want to give 1 hour once a month, you can do that. That's all it takes. So hopefully there's enough of us out there that see its value, and step up. It'll be very interesting. This is a story we'll be covering again. It'll be very interesting to see if it's a happy ending or a sad one. All right, let's shift into something a little bit happier, a little bit more festive for this time of year. The holiday train, the CPKC now. They had a merger there with Kansas City Rail a couple years ago, so now Canadian Pacific is now Canadian Pacific Kansas City. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
But fortunately, CPKC, YMCA, however you want to describe it, they still have their holiday train that rolls across Canada and across the prairies each and every year. Neepawa has been a big part of it the last couple years because we really show up and show out when it comes here, and it's going to be here again this year, the holiday train. So Josh Jackson has a preview, just writing a little bit of information on it. It's going to be it's sort of unfortunate, Ken. It's going to be arriving during the day, but at the same time, considering how cool it gets at night, I'm kind of okay with that as well. But it is going to be showing up in Neepawa on, let me see the day here, December 5th,
Yeah.
from 2:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. Now, I've been part of Experience before. Casper Warehound has covered this as well. I think maybe we'll send Josh this year out for it.
Josh maybe hasn't had a chance to see it.
But it's a great experience. I remember one year, I forget which year it was before COVID, came and ruined everything for us, is because it arrived just at dusk. And when it arrived, there was still a little bit of light out there, and they stayed for about a half hour. But by the time they were leaving, it was dark, and it was really quite majestic, I thought.
Yeah. No, it's very colorful. It is more colorful at night, but it's a great show during the day. And I should encourage everybody to go out. If you've got a slack boss like these guys around here, and you go out at 2:30 on a Friday, maybe you won't have to come back to work.
Well,
anyway.
Well,
Sorry.
no. Actually, this year I've decided I'm going to ride the rails. I'm going to jump on board. I'll sit there and I'll follow it all the way to Vancouver. I'm going to become one of those hobos you see from Bing Crosby, Bob Hope movies from back in the 40s type thing.
Well, don't laugh. My father was one of those in the 1920s. Literally. He told me stories.
Yeah.
I have stories.
Well, back in the day where you could do those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Now you can't even look at trains without them yelling at you.
Yeah.
But again, this is going to be one of those opposites where you're going to be able to go down, see the train, and experience it for yourself. So make sure to mark that on your calendar. All right, now with just a few minutes left, we're going to talk about another thing that has become a yearly tradition, and very specifically for Neepawa. And it's a great tradition. I very much enjoy being able to go cover. And that is Home Hardware Neepawa. Every year they partner up with Trees Canada, and they put some new trees in and around the town of Neepawa. And this year is no exception. Although this year was a little bit different because they are developing something brand new up where the new hospital is going to be located. And a couple years later, where the new school is going to be located. They were able to plant, I think it was about 30 or 40 trees in there this year. And it's going to be part of the walkway, the pathway, and the road, the new roads that are going up towards the hospital and the future school as well. They are very excited, Ken, to be able to part of this new endeavor that is expanding Neepawa and is going to have a significant footprint on Neepawa for years to come.
No, it's great, and the beautiful picture there, and that you took, Owen, and some happy people planting trees. Everybody's happy when they're planting a tree. And the picture, of course, of the hospital in the background. I think we're, what are we, about a year away from completion on the hospital?
Still just over a year, even though when you look at the picture and you're looking at it and you're wondering, wait a minute, that building looks like it's pretty much done. What are we waiting on? You got to remember, there's still a lot of interior work that needs to be done on the new health center. And again, this ain't like a house. This ain't like a basic warehouse. They're very specific and integral, sort of minute equipment and details that are a big part of a hospital. So they've got to be able to put that together, and that is going to take them a little bit of time. But it's wonderful to see. It'll be interesting to see as well, since I see how the size of the trees now. Once we get to the ribbon cutting for the hospital, Ken, how big the trees are by then.
Oh, they might be 50 feet high by then.
Oh God! I hope it's because they're very fast-growing trees, as opposed to very delayed work in terms of the opening. So it'll be very interesting and wonderful to see a business like Neepawa Home Hardware continue to see the value in giving back to the community as they do. I had a chance to speak with Michelle Gerard about it. She was very excited about the endeavor, as well as representation from Trees Canada, as well as the town of Neepawa. It's a trifecta of a partnership that comes together to make this and to turn it into a reality every year. So you can find that story on page 11 of this week's edition of the Banner and Press. There's so much more we could talk to you about, and we probably should talk to you about, but as usual, there's only 30 minutes and a half hour, and we're coming up on our 30 minutes. That's why it's always important for you to find a copy of the Neepawa Banner and Press. It's in 30 locations throughout Western Manitoba, most likely every location that got hit with those P.O. box thefts.
Yeah.
But that's important. You pick up a copy in any of those 30 locations.
How many?
30.
In where? In Neepawa?
No, around Western Manitoba, Ken.
Oh, gosh, we're probably closer to 150.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because we're 90 in Neepawa alone.
No, I'm talking about communities.
Oh, okay,
There's
sorry.
about 30 different communities
Oh, yes,
in which our
yes.
paper.
Sorry.
All right, we're just delving through. We're trying to figure out the nuances of where we deliver our
Obviously,
papers
I
right
wasn't listening. Sorry.
now. But if you can't find it in any of those 30 or 150, it's a number. Always remember, you can find it online, one internet. And you can find it by going to neepawabanner.com.
Yep.
And if you have any story ideas or suggestions, we always do appreciate that as well. You can get in touch with us at 476-3401 or at news@neepawabanner.com. So again, Ken, thank you as always.
Good to be here.
And thank you as always for tuning in. We're not here unless you're here. So we'll see you next time on NAC TV, the story behind the stories.